Kunal has written on Siachen and the trade-off is something which did figure in the papers for a little while, but I don't think not many people would have looked very deep into it. There has been some sort of a thinking in some quarters, uh, fueled by I don't know who, to say, okay, well, it is a desolate area, nothing, why are we spending so much, etc., etc., and let's just leave it, and maybe the other side will also behave. However, they don't go into the psyche of the other side at all. The moment you vacate it, he'll come and sit down. And after that, all the sacrifices that have gone, all the people who uh, ensured that you reach the ridgelines on the Saltoro range uh, would actually have gone waste. And to that extent, I think the very effective but subtle campaign that was mounted to ensure that it was revealed to people in a manner that there has to be a brakes on it, it succeeded. Uh, it's very interesting when some people are sent as part of a group, unofficial group, to talk to the another unofficial group from the other side, and they sort of do what the masters want. Okay, let's have a trade-off. It will be good for both the countries. Sounds very good. It sounds extremely good politics, if I can call it that way. सब कुछ ठीक होगा, आगे बढ़ेंगे, शांति होगा, all that. But what happens to the very reason why you went out there? What was it? That gets lost in it. So that way, Kunal has made a great contribution, if I can put it that way, which he doesn't really talk about it in the book, but it comes out when you read between the lines of how ultimately the whole proposal was stymied. The people who were into it were identified. They were targeted accordingly through the media and personal blogs and Twitter and Facebook. And Kunal was an enemy number one for everything. He has been abused in the social media and all other things for doing such a thing. But if I can say, he did the country proud. He actually did the country proud because he was at the forefront of this campaign, which was launched to ensure that we do not lose what we have gained and on which we have a rightful claim.
It was touch and go, sir, but we were fortunate that once it did finally break out in the media, even something as powerful as the PMO didn't quite know what to do at that time, because once the balloon burst, it burst. But I think General V K Singh at that time, he openly came out in the press and said that if Siachen is given away, it will be nothing short of treason. And that kind of thing really shook up Parliament and did a lot of things at that time. And it was as I said, it was touch and go, because for a while, nobody was willing to touch it. And in fact, the Outlook magazine, after having run the proofs, withdrew it. I had a call from the PM. So, but the one question we asked at that time was, I think I had put out a map of Siachen, and we said, all right, if we give this away, so be it. The Honorable Prime Minister so desires, let it be. But what will the new line of defense be? And that was a question which I don't think anybody could answer, because if they had given away Siachen, then they would have had to actually fortify the Ladakh range, which divides Ladakh from the Shyok Valley. And while they talk about the costs around Siachen and stuff like that, it would have taken the equivalent of maybe 2 infantry divisions to hold that line, whereas right now we are holding it with just a brigade. So, well, General Loomba, sir, your perception on some of these issues, which are there also in the books.
I'm not sure that all the members of the Track 2 who were looking at this issue of Siachen were actually aware of either the ramifications or even for that matter the strategic importance of Siachen itself. Because if you look at the strategic importance of Siachen, does not really look at the western side, look at the northern side, which is the more important side. And that is where the Karakoram Pass is and the proximity to the highway, etc. is there. So what is there to ensure that people don't move in and sit down? And at those heights, it's virtually impossible to evict them. Well, we do have in the audience General Puri, who was an architect of our, is there? He was an architect of our, one of the architects of our victory in the Kargil conflict. And he'll tell you as to how exceedingly difficult is for people to reach there. What to say to take action and to be able to capture those heights and capture those objectives. So I think it's a great service. It's a great service that Kunal did to the nation. And of course, V K Sir was totally batting on the front foot and pushing it across. And I'm glad it was scuttled. In fact, take your mind back to half an hour ago when Mr. Devroy himself said that he spoke to one of the architects and he didn't get a favorable response, either favorable or unfavorable. That itself indicates to us as to the kind of shenanigans that were going on behind the scene as far as Siachen was concerned. But something which has been captured with so many lives having been lost, and not to worry about the financial part of it. Of course, it's a huge financial burden. But what happens to the lives which have gone behind a victory? So I'm glad it was not given away on a platter under some pretext or the other.